wasn't gonna have you see the words going, but you know what? It's the Bible. Can't copyright a Bible. What are they gonna ask for me to ask the author to get permission to share it? We got an update on our cancer list. Not a happy one. Mm. So let's get started. I know I'm late. Sorry. Mm. Because in the future, by the way, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a bright and sunshiny day. Hey, in the future, when you're hearing the Bible being read or a story being read, it's either gonna be that or I'll make up a fun picture to do, or I'll make a video like um what do you call it? A fun pictures I'll make up and do what is that called? When it goes from one picture to another picture. I'll make one of those up so it's a long video, longer than my stream. And I'll just have it privately put on YouTube, and then I'll just go to it once in a while during devotions and you look at that. And then I'll make up more. So hold on. I have to mute this for a minute. I'm back. Yes, you'll see that or another fun picture, another awesome picture. So maybe I can color some pictures. Yeah. Hey, hey, you behave now. Yeah. Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today the food we need, and forgive us our sins, as we have forgiven those who sin against us. And don't let us yield to temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Jehovah, for another beautiful day on your beautiful earth. And thank you for allowing us to wake up today. And thank you for what you did for us in the past, present, and what you will do for us in the future. I'm sad to let everybody know that Lisa's coloring corner has passed away um, just about a week ago. I just found out really early this morning from Alicia. I'm not mad at all that She messaged me because I was already awake. So, Lisa, rest in peace. You are surely going to be missed. I loved your vlogs. I loved you. I do love you. You're an awesome person. Very nice and kind. And, yes. So, Lisa, rest in peace, sweetheart. And for Danielle, Tate, wait, hold on. Danielle to get stronger mentally and physically. Tate for his heart and cancer to be better. Cindy Lee, King Charles, Princess Kate, Jen's friend Shannon, Danielle Fischel, also known as Topanga. Um, give them all physical and mental strength to fight off their diseases. And help Celine Dion fight off the stiff person syndrome. Maybe you can go dormant. Continue to help Jenny, Christina, and her daughter, Tiffany and her son, Robin and all her kids and husband and grandkids and great grandkids. I think she has great grandkids. Misty and her daughter, Arnie, Vicky and family, Carol and mom. Please help them all. Give them physical and mental strength to get past anything that they need help with. And please give mental and physical strength to Miss Lisa's family in this sad time of not having her anymore in the everyday life. But she'll be here when Paradise comes. And we'll see her again. And we can color together again. In Jesus' name, amen. Ah, Lisa. She's a beautiful woman, too. Nope. Are we watching? Yeah, of course. This is from JW Library app, everybody. You can easily download it. I'm telling you this because I think I'm going to, if I'm going to reread the Bible, I'll let you see the words going up and down and stuff like that. But if it's a story or anything, you're not going to see the words anymore. I can't do it no more. I gotta get past these 90 days. And then everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. So let's just listen to 2 Samuel 15 through 24. Chapter 15 through 24.
Chapter 15. After all these things, Absalom acquired for himself a chariot and horses and 50 men to run before him. Absalom would rise up early and stand at the side of the road to the city gate. Whenever any man had a legal case that was to come to the king for judgment, Absalom would call him and say,
"From what city are you?"
And he would say,
"Your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel."
Absalom would say to him,
"See, your claims are right and proper, but there is no one from the king to hear your case."
Absalom would say,
"If only I were appointed judge in the land, then every man who has a legal case or judgment could come to me, and I would see that he receives justice."
And when a man came near to bow down to him, Absalom would extend his hand and grab hold of him and kiss him. Absalom would do this to all the Israelites who would come into the king for judgment. So Absalom kept stealing the hearts of the men of Israel. At the end of 4 years, Absalom said to the king,
"Let me go, please, to Hebron to pay my vow that I made to Jehovah. For your servant made this solemn vow when I was dwelling in Geshur in Syria. If Jehovah will bring me back to Jerusalem, I will make an offering to Jehovah."
So the king said to him,
"Go in peace."
With that he rose up and went to Hebron. Absalom now sent spies through all the tribes of Israel, saying,
As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, announce, Absalom has become king in Hebron.
Now 200 men from Jerusalem had gone there with Absalom. They were invited and went unsuspectingly, unaware of what was happening. Further, when he offered the sacrifices, Absalom sent for Ahithophel the Gilonite, David's advisor, from his city Gilo. The conspiracy kept gaining momentum, and the people who supported Absalom were growing in number. In time, an informer came to David saying,
The heart of the men of Israel has turned to Absalom.
At once, David said to all his servants with him in Jerusalem,
Get up, and let us run away, for none of us will escape from Absalom. Hurry, for fear he may quickly overtake us and bring disaster on us and strike the city with the sword.
The king's servants replied to the king,
Whatever my lord the king decides, your servants are ready to do.
So the king went out with all his household following him.
Sorry.
But the king left 10 concubines to take care of the house. And the king continued on his way out with all the people following, and they stopped at Beth-merhak. All his servants leaving with him, and all the Kerethites, the Pelethites, and the Gittites, 600 men who had followed him from Gath, were passing by as the king reviewed them. Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite,
Why should you also go with us? Go back and dwell with the new king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile from your place. Yesterday you came, so today should I make you wander with us, to go when I must go and where I must go? Go back and take your brothers with you, and may Jehovah show you loyal love and faithfulness.
But Ittai answered the king,
As surely as Jehovah is living, and as surely as my lord the king is living, wherever my lord the king may be, whether for death or for life, there your servant will be.
At that David said to Ittai,
Go and cross over.
So Ittai the Gittite crossed over, together with all his men and children. Everyone in the land was weeping loudly, while all these people crossed over. And the king was standing by the Kidron Valley. All the people were crossing over to the road leading to the wilderness. Zadok was also there, and with him were all the Levites carrying the Ark of the Covenant of the true God. And they set the Ark of the true God down, and Abiathar went up, while all the people completed crossing over from the city. But the king said to Zadok,
Take the ark of the true God back to the city. If I find favor in the eyes of Jehovah, he will also bring me back and let me see it and its dwelling place. But if he should say, I have found no pleasure in you, then let him do to me whatever seems good in his eyes.
The king said to Zadok the priest,
Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, and take the 2 sons of you men with you, Ahimaaz, your own son, and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar. See, I will linger by the fords of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me.
So Zadok and Abiathar took the Ark of the true God back to Jerusalem, and they remained there. As David was going up the Mount of Olives, he was weeping as he went up. His head was covered, and he was walking barefoot. All the people with him also covered their heads, and were weeping as they went up. David was then told,
Ahithophel is among those conspiring with Absalom.
At this David said,
Turn, please, the advice of Ahithophel into foolishness, O Jehovah.
When David came to the summit where people used to bow down to God, Hushai the Archite was there to meet him, with his robe ripped apart and dirt on his head. However, David said to him,
If you go across with me, you will be a load on me. But if you return to the city, and you say to Absalom, I am your servant, O king. I was the servant of your father in the past, but now I am your servant. You can then frustrate the advice of Ahithophel for me. Are not Zadok and Abiathar the priests there with you? You must tell Zadok and Abiathar the priests everything that you hear from the house of the king. Look, There with them are their 2 sons, Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar. And through them send to me everything that you hear.
So Hushai, David's friend, went into the city as Absalom was entering into Jerusalem. Chapter 16. When David had passed a little beyond the summit, Ziba, the attendant of Mephibosheth, was there to meet him with a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them were 200 loaves of bread, 100 cakes of raisins, 100 cakes of summer fruit, and a large jar of wine. Then the king said to Ziba,
Why have you brought these things?
Ziba replied,
The donkeys are for the household of the king to ride. The bread and the summer fruit are for the young men to eat, and the wine is for those who get exhausted in the wilderness to drink.
The king now said,
And where is the son of your master?
At this Ziba said to the king,
He is staying in Jerusalem, for he said, Today the house of Israel will give back the royal rule of my father to me.
The king then said to Ziba,
Look, everything that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours.
Ziba replied,
I bow down before you. May I find favor in your eyes, my lord the king.
When King David reached Bahurim, a man of the family of Saul's house named Shimei, the son of Gera, came out shouting curses as he approached. He was throwing stones at David and at all the servants of King David, as well as at all the people and the mighty men on his right and on his left. Shimei said as he cursed,
Get out! Get out! You blood-guilty man! You worthless man! Jehovah has brought back on you all the blood guilt for the house of Saul, in whose place you have ruled as king. But Jehovah gives the kingship into the hand of Absalom, your son. Now calamity has overtaken you, because you are a blood-guilty man.
Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king,
Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, please, and take off his head.
But the king said,
What do I have to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? Let him curse me, for Jehovah has said to him, Curse David. So who should say, Why are you doing this?
David then said to Abishai and all his servants,
Here my own son, who came from my own body, is seeking my life. And how much more now a Benjaminite? Leave him alone, so that he may curse me, for Jehovah told him to. Perhaps Jehovah will see my affliction, and Jehovah will restore goodness to me instead of the curses shouted at me this day.
With that, David and his men kept going down the road while Shimei was walking alongside the mountain abreast of him, shouting curses and throwing stones and a lot of dust. At length the king and all the people with him arrived at their destination exhausted, and they refreshed themselves. Meanwhile, Absalom and all the men of Israel arrived in Jerusalem, and Ahithophel was with him. When Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came into Absalom, Hushai said to Absalom,
Long live the king! Long live the king!
At this Absalom said to Hushai,
Is this your loyal love toward your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?
So Hushai said to Absalom,
No, I am on the side of the one who has been chosen by Jehovah, this people, and all the men of Israel. I will stay with him. And again I say, whom should I serve? Should it not be his son? Just as I served your father, so I will serve you.
Absalom then said to Ahithophel,
Give me your advice. What should we do?
At that Ahithophel said to Absalom,
Have relations with your father's concubines, those whom he left behind to take care of the house. Then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself a stench to your father, and those who support you will be strengthened.
So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof, and Absalom had relations with the concubines of his father before the eyes of all Israel. In those days, the advice that Ahithophel gave was considered as the word of the true God. That was how all the advice of Ahithophel was esteemed, both by David and by Absalom. Chapter 17. Ahithophel then said to Absalom,
Please, let me choose 12,000 men and rise up and chase after David tonight. I will come upon him when he is weary and powerless, and I will throw him into a panic, and all the people who are with him will flee, and I will strike down only the king. Then I will bring all the people back to you. The return of all the people depends on what happens with the man you are seeking. Then all the people will be at peace.
The proposal was just right in the eyes of Absalom and all the elders of Israel. However, Absalom said,
Please call Hushai the Archite as well, and let us hear what he has to say.
So Hushai came into Absalom. Then Absalom said to him,
This is the advice Ahithophel gave. Should we act on his advice? If not, you tell us.
At this, Hushai said to Absalom,
The advice that Ahithophel gave is not good in this instance.
Hushai continued,
You well know that your father and his men are mighty, and they are desperate, like a bear that has lost her cubs in the field. Moreover, your father is a warrior, and he will not spend the night with the people. At this very moment, he is hiding in one of the caves or in some other place. And if he attacks first, those hearing of it will say, The people following Absalom have been defeated. Even the courageous man, whose heart is like that of a lion, will surely melt in fear. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and that the men with him are courageous. I give this advice. Let all Israel be gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, as many as the grains of sand by the sea, and you should lead them into the fight. We will come against him wherever he is found, and we will come upon him just like the dew that falls on the ground. And not one of them will survive, not he nor any of the men with him. If he retreats into a city, all Israel will carry ropes to that city, and we will drag it down into the valley until not even a pebble is left.
Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said,
The advice of Hushai the Archite is better than the advice of Ahithophel.
For Jehovah had determined to frustrate the sound advice of Ahithophel, so that Jehovah could bring disaster on Absalom. Hushai later said to Zadok and Abiathar the priests,
This is what Ahithophel has advised Absalom and the elders of Israel, and this is what I have advised. Now quickly send word to David and warn him, Do not stay at the fords of the wilderness tonight, but cross over without fail, or the king and all the people with him may be wiped out.
Jonathan and Ahimaaz were staying at En-Rogel. So a servant girl went off and told them, and they went to tell King David, for they did not dare to be seen entering the city. However, a young man saw them and told Absalom. So the two of them quickly went off and came to the house of a man in Bahurim, who had a well in his courtyard. They went down into it, and the man's wife spread a covering over the top of the well and covered it with cracked grain. No one knew about it. The servants of Absalom came to the woman at her house and asked,
Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan?
The woman replied,
They passed by toward the water.
Then the men searched for them but did not find them, so they returned to Jerusalem. After the men were gone, they came up out of the well and went and informed King David. They said to him,
Rise up and quickly cross the water, for this is what Ahithophel advised against you.
Immediately David and all the people with him rose up and crossed the Jordan. By daybreak, there was no one left who had not crossed the Jordan. When Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been acted on, he saddled a donkey and went to his house in his hometown. After he gave instructions to his household, He hanged himself. So he died and was buried in the burial place of his forefathers. Meanwhile, David went to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed the Jordan with all the men of Israel. Absalom put Amasa in charge of the army in place of Joab. Amasa was the son of a man named Ithra, the Israelite, who had relations with Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, the sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. Israel and Absalom camped in the land of Gilead. As soon as David came to Mahanaim, Shobai the son of Nahash from Rabbah of the Ammonites, Machir the son of Ammiel from Lodebar, and Barzillai the Gileadite from Rogelim brought beds, basins, clay pots, wheat, barley, flour, roasted grain, broad beans, lentils, parched grain, honey, butter, sheep, and cheese.
Honey.
They brought all of this out for David and the people with him to eat. For they said,
"The people are hungry and tired and thirsty in the wilderness."
Chapter 18. Then David numbered the men who were with him, and placed over them chiefs of thousands and chiefs of hundreds. And David sent 1/3 of the men under the command of Joab, 1/3 under the command of Joab's brother Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, and 1/3 under the command of Ittai the Gittite. The king then said to the men,
I will also go out with you.
But they said,
You must not go out, for if we flee, they would not care about us. And if half of us would die, they would not care about us, because you are worth 10,000 of us. Therefore, it would be better if you would send us help from the city.
The king said to them,
Whatever seems best to you, I will do.
So the king stood next to the city gate, and all the men went out by hundreds and by thousands. Then the king gave Joab and Abishai and Ittai this order:
Deal gently with the young man Absalom, for my sake.
All the men heard it when the king gave all the chiefs the order about Absalom. The men went out to the field to meet Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. There the people of Israel were defeated by the servants of David, and a great slaughter took place on that day, 20,000 men. The battle spread through the whole region. Furthermore, the forest devoured more of the people than the sword did on that day. Absalom eventually found himself facing the servants of David. Absalom was riding on a mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a large tree, and his head got entangled in the big tree, so that he was suspended in midair while the mule he had been riding kept going. Then someone saw it and told Joab,
Look, I have seen Absalom hanging in a big tree.
Joab replied to the man who told him,
If you saw it, why did you not strike him down to the ground on the spot? Then I would have gladly given you 10 pieces of silver and a belt.
But the man said to Joab,
Even if I were handed 1,000 pieces of silver, I could not lift my hand against the king's son. For we heard the king order you and Abishai and Ittai, whoever you are, watch over the young man Absalom. If I had disobeyed and taken his life, it could never have remained hidden from the king, and you would not have protected me.
To this Joab said,
I am not going to waste any more time with you.
So he took 3 spikes in his hand and drove them through the heart of Absalom while he was still alive in the midst of the big tree. Then 10 attendants who carried Joab's weapons came and struck Absalom until he was dead. Joab now blew the horn, and the men returned from chasing after Israel. Joab called for them to halt. They took Absalom and threw him into a big pit in the forest, and piled up over him a very big heap of stones, and all Israel fled to their homes. Now Absalom, while he was alive, had taken and set up for himself a pillar in the valley of the king, for he said, I have no son to preserve the memory of my name. So he named the pillar after himself, and it is called Absalom's monument to this day. Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said,
Let me run, please, and break the news to the king, for Jehovah has given him justice by freeing him from his enemies.
But Joab said to him,
You will not be a bearer of news this day. You may break the news on another day, but today you will not break the news, because the king's own son has died.
Then Joab said to a Cushite,
Go, tell the king what you have seen.
At that the Cushite bowed to Joab and ran off. Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said once again to Joab,
Whatever happens, please let me also run behind the Cushite.
However, Joab said,
Why should you run, my son, when there is no news for you to tell?
Still he said,
Whatever happens, let me run.
So Joab said to him,
Run.
And Ahimaaz ran by the way of the district of the Jordan, and he eventually overtook the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the two city gates, and the watchman went up to the roof of the gate by the wall. He looked up and saw a man running by himself. So the watchman called out and told the king. The king said,
If he is by himself, he has news to tell.
As he came steadily nearer, the watchman saw another man running. The watchman then called to the gatekeeper.
Look, another man running by himself.
The king said,
This one is also bringing news.
The watchman said, I can see that the first man runs like Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok.
So the king said,
He is a good man, and he comes with good news.
Ahimaaz then called out to the king.
All is well.
With that he bowed to the king with his face to the ground. Then he said,
May Jehovah your God be praised, who has surrendered the men who rebelled against my lord the king.
However, the king said,
Is everything all right with the young man Absalom?
To this Ahimaaz said,
I saw the great commotion when Joab sent the king's servant and your servant, but I did not know what it was.
So the king said,
Step aside. Stand here.
At that he stepped aside and stood there. Then the Cushite arrived, and the Cushite said,
Let my lord the king accept this news. Today Jehovah has brought justice by freeing you from the hand of all those who rebelled against you.
But the king said to the Cushite,
Is everything all right with the young man Absalom?
To this the Cushite said,
May all the enemies of my lord the king and all those who rebelled against you to harm you become like the young man.
This disturbed the king, and he went up to the roof chamber over the gateway and wept, saying as he walked,
My son Absalom, my son Absalom.
Oh my
if
God.
only I had died
Sorry.
instead of you, Absalom, my son. My son.
Chapter 19. It was reported to Joab,
The king is weeping and mourning for Absalom.
So the victory on that day was turned into mourning for all the people, because they heard that the king was grieving over his son. The people quietly returned to the city that day like people who are ashamed because they fled in the battle. The king covered his face and kept crying out with a loud voice,
My son Absalom. Absalom, my son. My son.
Then Joab went into the king at the house and said,
Today you have put to shame all your servants who this day saved your life and the lives of your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your concubines. You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. For you have made it clear today that your chiefs and servants mean nothing to you. Because I am sure that if only Absalom were alive today and the rest of us were dead, it would be all right with you. Now get up, go out and reassure your servants. Because by Jehovah I swear that if you do not go out, not a man will remain with you tonight. This will be worse for you than all the injury that has come upon you from your youth until now.
So the king rose up and sat in the city gate, and all the people were informed.
Now the king is sitting in the gate.
Then all the people came before the king. But Israel had fled, each to his home. All the people in all the tribes of Israel were disputing, saying,
"The king saved us from our enemies, and he rescued us from the Philistines, but now he has fled the land because of Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, has died in the battle. So now why are you doing nothing to bring the king back?"
King David sent this message to Zadok and Abiathar the priests.
Speak to the elders of Judah, saying, "Why should you be the last ones to bring the king back to his house, when the word of all Israel has come to the king at his house? You are my brothers. You are my own bone and flesh. Why should you be the last ones to bring the king back? And you should say to Amasa, are you not my own bone and flesh? So may God do to me and add to it if you will not become my army chief from now on instead of Joab."
So he won over the hearts of all the men of Judah as one man, and they sent word to the king,
"Come back, you and all your servants."
The king started back and reached the Jordan, and the people of Judah came to Gilgal to meet the king and to escort him across the Jordan. Then Shimei the son of Gera, the Benjaminite from Bahurim, hurried down with the men of Judah to meet King David, and there were 1,000 men from Benjamin with him. Also Ziba, the attendant of the house of Saul, with his 15 sons and 20 servants, rushed down to the Jordan ahead of the king. He crossed the ford to bring the king's household across, and to do whatever he desired. But Shimei the son of Gera fell down before the king when he was about to cross the Jordan. He said to the king,
"Do not let my lord hold me guilty, and do not remember the wrong your servant did on the day that my lord the king went out of Jerusalem. May the king not take it to heart, for your servant well knows that I have sinned. So today I have been the first of all the house of Joseph to come down to meet my lord the king."
At once Abishai the son of Zeruiah said,
"Should not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the anointed of Jehovah?"
But David said,
"What does this have to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you should act against me today? Should anyone be put to death today in Israel? For do I not know that today I am king over Israel?"
Then the king said to Shimei,
"You will not die."
And the king gave him his oath. Mephibosheth, the grandson of Saul, also came down to meet the king. He had not cared for his feet, or trimmed his mustache, or washed his garments from the day the king left until the day he returned in peace. When he came to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him,
"Why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth?"
To this he said,
"My lord the king, my servant tricked me. For your servant had said, 'Let me get my donkey saddled, so that I may ride on it and go with the king, for your servant is crippled.' But he slandered your servant to my lord the king. However, my lord the king is like an angel of the true God. So do whatever seems good to you. All the household of my father could have been doomed to death by my lord the king, and yet you placed your servant among those eating at your table. So what right do I have to cry out further to the king?"
However, the king said to him,
"Why keep on speaking like this? I have decided that you and Ziba should share the field."
At this Mephibosheth said to the king,
"Let him take it all, now that my lord the king has come to his house in peace."
Then Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim to the Jordan to escort the king to the Jordan. Barzillai was very old, 80 years of age, and he supplied the king with food while he was staying in Mahanaim, for he was a very wealthy man. So the king said to Barzillai,
"Cross over with me, and I will supply you with food in Jerusalem."
But Barzillai said to the king,
"How many days of my life are left that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am 80 years old today. Can I discern between good and bad? Can I, your servant, taste what I eat and drink? Can I still listen to the voice of male and female singers? So why should your servant be an added burden to my lord the king? It is enough that your servant could bring the king to the Jordan. Why should the king repay me with this reward? Let your servant return, please, and let me die in my city, near the burial place of my father and my mother. But here is your servant Kimham. Let him cross over with my lord the king, and you may do for him what seems good to you.
So the king said,
Kimham will go across with me, and I will do for him what seems good to you. Whatever you ask of me, I will do for you.
All the people now began to cross the Jordan. And when the king crossed, the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and Barzillai returned home. When the king went across to Gilgal, Kimham crossed with him. All the people of Judah and half the people of Israel brought the king across. Then all the men of Israel approached the king and said to him,
Why did our brothers, the men of Judah, steal you away and bring the king and his household over the Jordan, along with all of David's men?
All the men of Judah answered the men of Israel,
Because the king is related to us. Why are you angry over this? Have we eaten anything at the king's expense? Or has a gift been given to us?
However, the men of Israel answered the men of Judah,
We have 10 parts in the king, so that we have a greater claim in David than you have. Why then have you treated us with contempt? Should we not have been first to bring our king back?
But the word of the men of Judah prevailed over that of the men of Israel. Chapter 20. Now there was a troublemaker named Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjaminite. He blew the horn and said,
We have no share in David, and we have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Everyone to his gods, O Israel.
At that, all the men of Israel quit following David to follow Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah stuck to their king, from the Jordan to Jerusalem. When David came to his house at Jerusalem, the king took the 10 concubines he had left behind to take care of the house, and he put them in a house under guard. He supplied food to them, but he did not have any relations with them. They remained in confinement until the day of their death, living as if they were widows, even though they had a living husband. The king now said to Amasa,
Call the men of Judah together to me within 3 days, and you also should be here.
So Amasa went to call Judah together, but he came later than the set time that had been appointed for him. Then David said to Abishai,
Sheba, the son of Bichri, may do us more harm than Absalom did. Take the servants of your Lord and chase after him, so that he may not find fortified cities and escape from us.
So the men of Joab, the Kerethites, the Pelethites, and all the mighty men went out after him. They left Jerusalem to chase after Sheba, the son of Bichri. When they were near the great stone in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Now Joab was wearing his battle clothing, and he had a sword in its sheath strapped to his hip. When he stepped forward, the sword fell out. Joab said to Amasa,
Are you all right, my brother?
Then with his right hand, Joab took hold of Amasa's beard as if to kiss him. Amasa was not on guard against the sword that was in Joab's hand, and Joab stabbed him with it in the abdomen, and his intestines spilled out on the ground. He did not have to stab him again. Once was enough to kill him. Then Joab and his brother Abishai chased after Sheba the son of Bichri. One of Joab's young men stood by him and was saying,
Whoever is on Joab's side and whoever belongs to David, let him follow Joab.
All the while Amasa was wallowing in his blood in the middle of the road. When the man saw that all the people were stopping, he moved Amasa from the road to the field. Then he threw a garment over him, because he saw that everyone was stopping when they came up to him. After he had removed him from the road, all the men followed Joab to chase after Sheba the son of Bichri. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel of Beth-maacah. The Bichrites gathered together and also went in after him. Joab and his men came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-maachah, and raised up a siege rampart against the city, as it was standing within a rampart. And all the men with Joab were undermining the wall to knock it down. And a wise woman called out from the city,
"Listen, men, listen! Please tell Joab, 'Come here and let me speak to you.'"
So he went near to her, and the woman said,
"Are you Joab?"
He replied,
"I am."
At this she said to him,
"Listen to the words of your servant."
He said,
"I am listening."
She continued,
"They would always say in the past, 'Let them inquire in Abel,' and that was the end of the matter. I represent the peaceable and faithful ones of Israel. You are seeking to destroy a city that is like a mother in Israel. Why should you do away with the inheritance of Jehovah?"
Joab answered,
"It is unthinkable for me to do away with it and destroy it. That is not the case at all. Rather, a man named Sheba, the son of Bichri, from the mountainous region of Ephraim, has rebelled against King David. If you hand over this one man, I will withdraw from the city."
Then the woman said to Joab,
"Look, his head will be thrown over the wall to you."
At once the wise woman went in to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri and threw it to Joab. At that he blew the horn, and they dispersed from the city, each one to his home, and Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. Now Joab was in charge of all the army of Israel. Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites. Adoram was over those conscripted for forced labor. Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was the recorder. Sheba was the secretary. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. And Ira the Jairite also became a chief minister for David. Chapter 21. Now there was a famine in the days of David for 3 consecutive years. So David consulted Jehovah. And Jehovah said, "There is blood guilt on Saul and on his house, because he put the Gibeonites to death." So the king called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Incidentally, the Gibeonites were not Israelites, but Amorites who remained, and the Israelites had sworn to spare them. But Saul sought to strike them down in his zeal for the people of Israel and Judah. David said to the Gibeonites,
"What should I do for you? And how can I make atonement so that you will bless the inheritance of Jehovah?"
The Gibeonites said to him,
"It is not a matter of silver or gold for us in connection with Saul and his household, nor can we put any man to death in Israel."
At that he said,
"Whatever you say, I will do for you."
They said to the king,
"The man who exterminated us and schemed to annihilate us from living anywhere in the territory of Israel, let 7 of his sons be given to us. We will hang their dead bodies before Jehovah in Gibeah of Saul, the chosen one of Jehovah."
The king then said,
"I will hand them over."
However, the king showed compassion for Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the oath made before Jehovah between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. So the king took Armoni and Mephibosheth, the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore to Saul, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she bore to Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Maholathite. Then he handed them over to the Gibeonites, and they hung their dead bodies on the mountain before Jehovah. All 7 of them died together. They were put to death in the first days of harvest, at the start of the barley harvest. Then Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it out on the rock from the start of harvest until rain poured down from the heavens on the bodies. She did not allow the birds of the heavens to land on them by day, nor the wild beasts of the field to come near by night. David was told what Saul's concubine Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, had done. So David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of his son Jonathan from the leaders of Jabesh Gilead, who had stolen them from the public square of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung them, on the day that the Philistines struck down Saul on Gilboa. He brought the bones of Saul and the bones of his son Jonathan up from there, and they also gathered the bones of the men who had been executed. Then they buried the bones of Saul and of Jonathan his son in the land of Benjamin and Zelah, in the tomb of Kish his father. After they did everything that the king had commanded, God listened to their entreaties for the land. Once again, there was war between the Philistines and Israel. So David and his servants went down and fought the Philistines, but David became exhausted. A descendant of the Rephaim named Ishbi-Benob, whose copper spear weighed 300 shekels, and who was armed with a new sword, intended to strike David down. At once Abishai the son of Zeruiah came to his aid and struck the Philistine down and put him to death. At that time the men of David swore this oath to him:
You must not go out with us to battle any more.
You must not extinguish the lamp of Israel.
After this, war broke out again with the Philistines at Gob. At that time Sibbecai the Hushathite struck down Saph, who was a descendant of the Rephaim. And war broke out again with the Philistines at Gob. And Elhanan, the son of Jehoiargim, the Bethlehemite, struck down Goliath the Gittite, whose spear had a shaft like the beam of loom workers. War broke out yet again at Gath, where there was a man of extraordinary size, with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all, and he too was a descendant of the Rephaim. He kept taunting Israel. So Jonathan the son of Shimei, David's brother, struck him down. These 4 were descendants of the Rephaim in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. Chapter 22. And David spoke to Jehovah the words of this song in the day that Jehovah rescued him out of the hand of all his enemies and out of Saul's hand. He said,
Jehovah is my crag and my stronghold, and the one who rescues me. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and my horn of salvation, my secure refuge and my place to flee, my Savior, you who save me from violence. I call on Jehovah, who is worthy of praise, and I will be saved from my enemies. The waves of death broke all around me. Flash floods of worthless men terrified me. The ropes of the grave surrounded me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called on Jehovah. To my God, I kept calling. Then from his temple, he heard my voice, and my cry for help reached his ears. Back and forth, the earth began to shake and rock. The foundations of the heavens trembled and shook back and forth because he had been angered. Smoke ascended from his nostrils, and a consuming fire came from his mouth. Glowing coals blazed from him. He made the heavens bend as he descended, and thick gloom was beneath his feet. He rode on a cherub and came flying. He was visible on the wings of a spirit. Then he put darkness around him as a shelter, in dark waters and thick clouds. From the brightness before him, fiery coals blazed. Then Jehovah began to thunder from heaven. The Most High made his voice heard. He shot his arrows and scattered them, lightning, and he threw them into confusion. The bed of the sea became visible. The foundations of the land were exposed by the rebuke of Jehovah, by the blast of the breath from his nostrils. He reached down from on high. He took hold of me and pulled me from deep waters. He rescued me from my strong enemy, from those hating me, who were stronger than I was. They confronted me on the day of my disaster, but Jehovah was my support. He brought me out into a place of safety. He rescued me because he was pleased with me. Jehovah rewards me according to my righteousness. He repays me according to the innocence of my hands. For I have kept the ways of Jehovah, and I have not wickedly abandoned my God. All his judgments are before me. I will not deviate from his statutes. I will remain blameless before him, and I will keep myself from error. May Jehovah repay me according to my righteousness, according to my innocence before him. With someone loyal, you act in loyalty. With the blameless mighty man, you deal blamelessly. With the pure, you show yourself pure. But with the crooked, you show yourself shrewd. For you save those who are humble, but your eyes are against the haughty, and you abase them. For you are my lamp, O Jehovah. It is Jehovah who lights up my darkness. With your help, I can charge against a marauder band. By God's power, I can scale a wall. The way of the true God is perfect. The saying of Jehovah is refined. He is a shield to all those taking refuge in him. For who is a God besides Jehovah? And who is a rock except our God? The true God is my strong fortress, and he will make my way perfect. He makes my feet like those of a deer. He makes me stand on high places. He trains my hands for warfare. My arms can bend a bow of copper. You give me your shield of salvation, and your humility makes me great. You widen the path for my footsteps. My feet will not slip. I will pursue my enemies and annihilate them. I will not return until they are wiped out, and I will wipe them out and crush them so that they will not rise up. They will fall under my feet. You will equip me with strength for the battle. You will make my foes collapse under me. You will make my enemies retreat from me. I will put an end to those who hate me. They cry for help, but there is no one to save them. They even cry to Jehovah, but he does not answer them. I will pound them as fine as the dust of the earth. I will pulverize and trample them like mud in the streets. You will rescue me from the fault-finding of my people. You will safeguard me to be the head of nations. A people whom I have not known will serve me. Foreigners will come cringing before me. What they hear about me will make them obey me. Foreigners will lose courage. They will come trembling from their strongholds. Jehovah is alive. Praised be my rock. Let the God of the rock of my salvation be exalted. The true God executes vengeance for me. He subdues the peoples under me. He rescues me from my enemies. You lift me high above those who attack me. You save me from the man of violence. That is why I will thank you, O Jehovah, among the nations, and to your name I will sing praises. He performs great acts of salvation for his king. He displays loyal love to his anointed one, to David and his offspring forever.
Chapter 23. These are the last words of David.
The word of David, the son of Jesse, and the word of the man who was raised on high, the anointed of the God of Jacob, the pleasant singer of the songs of Israel. The Spirit of Jehovah spoke through me. His word was on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. To me, the rock of Israel said, when the one ruling over mankind is righteous, ruling in the fear of God, it is like the morning light when the sun shines, a morning without clouds. It is like the brightness after the rain, making grass sprout from the earth. Is not my house like that before God? For he has made an eternal covenant with me, arranged in every detail and secured. Because it means my complete salvation and all my delight, Is that not why he makes it flourish? But worthless men are all thrown away like thorn bushes, for they cannot be taken with the hand. When a man touches them, he should be fully armed with iron and the shaft of a spear, and they should be completely burned up with fire in their place.
These are the names of David's mighty warriors: Joshabaz-Shebeth, a Tekemonite, the head of the three. He brandished his spear over 800 slain at one time. Next to him, Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the son of Ahohi, was among the three mighty warriors with David when they taunted the Philistines. They had gathered there for the battle, and when the men of Israel retreated, he stood his ground and kept striking down the Philistines until his arm grew weary and his hand became stiff from gripping the sword. So Jehovah brought about a great victory on that day, and the people returned behind him to strip the slain. Next to him was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Hararite. The Philistines gathered together at Lehi, where there was a plot of land full of lentils, and the people fled because of the Philistines. But he took his stand in the middle of the field and defended it, and kept striking down the Philistines, so that Jehovah brought about a great victory.
3 of the 30 headmen went down during the harvest to David at the cave of Adullam, and a company of the Philistines was camped in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold, and an outpost of the Philistines was in Bethlehem. Then David expressed his longing.
If only I could have a drink of the water from the cistern by the gate of Bethlehem.
At that, the 3 mighty warriors forced their way into the camp of the Philistines and drew water from the cistern by the gate of Bethlehem and brought it to David. But he refused to drink it and poured it out to Jehovah. He said,
It is unthinkable on my part, O Jehovah, that I should do this. Should I drink the blood of the men going at the risk of their lives?
So he refused to drink it. These are the things that his 3 mighty warriors did.
Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was the head of another 3. He brandished his spear over 300 slain, and he had a reputation like the 3. Although he was the most distinguished of the other 3, and he was their chief, he did not attain to the rank of the first 3. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was a courageous man who performed many exploits in Kabzeel. He struck down the 2 sons of Ariel of Moab, and he descended into a water pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. He also struck down an Egyptian man of extraordinary size. Though the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, he went against him with a rod and snatched the spear away from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. These things Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, did, and he had a reputation like that of the 3 mighty warriors. Although he was distinguished even more than the 30, he did not attain to the rank of the 3. However, David appointed him over his own bodyguard. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was among the 30. Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem. Shammah the Harodite. Elika the Harodite. Helez the Paltite. Ira the son of Ikesh the Tekoite. Abiezer the Anathothite. Mebunai the Hushathite. Zalmon the Ahohite. Meharai the Netophathite. Heleb the son of Baanah the Netophathite. Ittai the son of Riah of Gibeah of the Benjaminites. Benaiah a Pirathonite. Hiddai of the Wadis of Gaash. Abi-Albin the Arbathite. Asmaveth the Barhumite. Eliabah the Shaalbanite. The sons of Jashan. Jonathan. Shammah the Hararite. Ahiam the son of Sherar the Hararite. Eliphalet the son of Ahasbai the son of the Maacathite. Eliam the son of Ahithophel the Gilonite. Hezro the Carmelite. Pearai the Arbite. Igal the son of Nathan of Zobah. Bani the Gadite. Zelek the Ammonite. Naharai the Beerothite. The armor-bearer of Joab the son of Zeruiah. Ira the Ithrite. Gareb the Ithrite. And Uriah the Hittite. 37 in all.
Chapter 24.
Last one.
The anger of Jehovah again blazed against Israel when one incited David against them, saying, "Go, take account of Israel and Judah." So the king said to Joab, the chief of the army who was with him,
Please go through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and register the people, so that I may know the number of the people.
But Joab said to the king,
May Jehovah your God multiply the people 100 times, and may the eyes of my lord the king see it. But why does my lord the king want to do such a thing?
But the king's word prevailed over Joab and the chiefs of the army. So Joab and the chiefs of the army went out from before the king to register the people of Israel. They crossed the Jordan and camped at Aroer, to the right of the city in the middle of the valley. And they went toward the Gadites and on to Jazer. After that, they went on to Gilead and the land of Tatim-Hadshai, and continued to Dan-Jahan, and went around to Sidon. Then they went to the fortress of Tyre, and all the cities of the Hivites and of the Canaanites. And finally they ended up in the Negeb of Judah, at Beersheba. Thus they went through all the land, and came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. Joab now gave to the king the number of the people who were registered. Israel amounted to 800,000 warriors armed with swords, and the men of Judah were 500,000. But David's heart was struck with remorse after he had numbered the people. David then said to Jehovah,
I have sinned greatly by doing this. And now, Jehovah, please forgive your servant's error, for I have acted very foolishly.
When David got up in the morning, Jehovah's word came to Gad the prophet, David's visionary, saying, Go and say to David, this is what Jehovah says. I am giving you 3 options. Choose the one that I should bring on you. So Gad came in to David and told him, Should 7 years of famine come on your land? Or should you flee for 3 months from your adversaries while they pursue you? Or should there be 3 days of pestilence in your land? Now consider carefully what I should reply to the one who sent me. So David said to Gad,
It is very distressing to me. Let us fall, please, into the hand of Jehovah, for his mercy is great. But do not let me fall into the hand of man.
Then Jehovah sent a pestilence on Israel from the morning until the designated time, so that 70,000 of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. When the angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, Jehovah felt regret over the calamity, and he said to the angel bringing destruction among the people, It is enough. Now let your hand drop. Jehovah's angel was close to the threshing floor of Araunah, the Jebusite. When David saw the angel who was striking the people down, he said to Jehovah,
I am the one who sinned, and I am the one who did wrong. But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand please come against me and my father's house.
So Gad came in to David on that day and said to him, Go up, set up for Jehovah an altar on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. So David went up at the word of Gad, as Jehovah had commanded. When Araunah looked down and saw the king and his servants coming toward him, Araunah immediately went out and bowed down to the king with his face to the ground. Araunah asked,
Why has my lord the king come to his servant?
David replied,
To buy from you the threshing floor, in order to build an altar to Jehovah, so that the scourge against the people may be halted.
But Araunah said to David,
Let my lord the king take it and offer up what seems good to him. Here are cattle for the burnt offering, and the threshing sledge, and the equipment of the cattle for the wood. All of this, O king, Araunah gives to the king.
Then Araunah said to the king,
May Jehovah your God show you favor.
However, the king said to Araunah,
No, I must buy it from you for a price. I will not offer up to Jehovah my God burnt sacrifices that cost me nothing.
So David bought the threshing floor and the cattle for 50 silver shekels. And David built an altar there to Jehovah, and offered up burnt sacrifices and communion sacrifices. Jehovah then responded to the entreaty for the land, and the scourge against Israel was halted.
Now, that will be it for today. I will be live later on with coloring. Ivy, stop! Get down. Oh, she went to get a crust. Let's not forget about what today is. Today is 9/11, Remembrance Day. Never forget. Never forget. Especially the third claim. What all those people decided to do. That third claim was going to go to the White House. And what those people decided to do is take it down. And they all knew that they were going to die to save the president's life. I'm so glad that the president wasn't hurt, but sad that all those people died. I was short of words. I didn't know what to say. All I did was just watch the TV. There was nothing to watch but that. So we just watched it. And it's just sad that this happened. But let's not forget about the heroes, okay? All the first responders, all those people. Let's not forget about them, okay? Love, don't judge.